1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 24 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Friday morning. Niina C. Payne is on the phone. We will get to meet her in just a moment. She has written a beautiful book. It's called Moments in Time. When one heart opens, two hearts collide. And gosh, I guess we all can relate to what she has written about. I remember I was relating to it because of when my dad died, and then 2 weeks later my sister died. My dad did not die of cancer, but my sister did, and it was kind of weird, to have like two in such a short period of time.
And in between those two, my aunt died.
That's right,
so
and you had
three.
So yes, yeah. And Niina has experienced that as well. She's written a story. And she also is a yoga instructor. So we're going to figure how all these things come together. She's a student of philosophy, psychology, and the psychology of yoga. When one heart opens, two hearts collide is the title of the book, Moments in Time. Good morning, Niina. How are you?
Good morning, Larry. I'm fine. How are you doing? How are you, Robin?
Good.
Pretty good. Thank you for being on the air with us today. Am I saying your name right? Is it Niina?
Yes, it's Niina. That's correct.
Where are you right now? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Solana Beach, California.
Oh, wow. That sounds nice.
I know, life's hard.
Yes. But you got up early to be with us, so thank you for that. Where is Solana Beach?
Well, we live right just north of Del Mar and south of Encinitas. It's this really nice little beach community town.
Oh, man. Did you move there after you became a yoga? It's like a great place for yoga, for an author, isn't it? It's a great...
It is. It's like a mecca. The whole coastal community here just is like a mecca of yoga studios and great yoga instructors. It really is conducive to that kind of environment.
So tell me about the story that led to the story before we focus on the book. What happened in your life?
It's interesting listening to what you and Robin said. It's very, very similar, kind of like you said, switched. My brother was diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer when he was 48 at the time, and that was in 2008. And at the time, he was given 4 to 6 months to live. And of course, that was a devastating diagnosis, but we were so blessed that he lived for 4 years. And so that filled my heart, at least, with joy, knowing that we had him for so much longer than he was originally diagnosed.
Wow. Yeah.
So the story originally, when I first sat down, I've written since I was a child. I never ever considered myself a novelist, and never thought I would ever write a book. But I just when I went to Boston a year after his death, I just was in the depths of despair. I was down to 89 pounds. I was very sad. I had lost my father 4 months afterwards.
Goodness.
Yeah, it was quite devastating, and that's where actually I'd gotten inspiration. And I don't know, it was something in that city just inspired me, and I had an episany when I was there. And if you care, I can share that with you.
That's what we're waiting for. Yeah.
Many years back, I had written this poem called "Dear Friend," and the final line in the poem says, "Dear friend, in the simplicity of life, all the opposites are equal." So as I'm walking around looking at all these beautiful brownstones, I thought to myself, wow, I am in such grief right now. I just, in my book, I describe it as belly flopping into a bed of nails every 20 to 30 seconds, and how does somebody survive that kind of pain? And I realized the opposite of that must be true. So that last line just really, from years back that I had written, just was in my brain. And I thought, wow, the opposite of that has to be true. If I am in so much pain, there's so much joy on the other end of that. And I would have been happy to get back to where my brother was before the cancer diagnosis and get back to that life and be content to where I was there. But actually, I became more content and more joyful and more alive after I came back from Boston, and that's when I sat down.
That's very philosophical and very... That's a great thing. I wish everybody would embrace that. I mean, just because you have to go on with... Well, I guess you don't have to go on with your life, but... It seems like a good thing to do, to go on with your life.
Yes, and that is the thing, is we have a choice. I mean, we don't have a choice of what happens to us, but we definitely have a choice in how we respond. And that's what I started to come to the realization is, what am I going to do? How am I going to best honor my brother and my father, who were the two most influential men in my life, who I absolutely adored? Am I just going to sink in despair? Well, and it's not that you rise up for them. You don't. And I think that many people during that time said, think about your children, think about your husband. Those words, when you're in that kind of despair, are meaningless. They don't mean anything.
Absolutely, yeah. It's so true. It's so true.
Do you agree? Yeah, I'm sure you probably got that a lot as well. And I had to find my own way. And when I sat down to write the story, it was supposed to be nonfiction. It was going to be called A Sister's Journey, A Brother's Love. And it turned into this romance novel that with my brother's story intertwined. And a lot of the editorial reviews have said it's not really a romance. Of course, there's the romance component, but it's a layered love story with so many tales of love. And it's basically considered a dramatic novel because of the story of my brother and what we went through. And it's very realistic. In terms of the emotions. People ask me, well, what's fiction and what's truth and this and that? Is it a veiled memoir? Well, the emotions are real. And I think that's what's most important in the story, is that the emotions are raw and they're authentic and they're not sugar-coated. They're real.
And
So
sometimes,
I think
but and you also illustrate the point that when a person is grieving, sometimes you don't show it outwardly because you have to be strong for the other people in your life.
That is absolutely, I can't even, I got the chills when you said that because it is so true. I do write in the book as well, there was an actual, some of the text messages and emails in the book, those are actually authentic other than what the editors cleaned up for grammar purposes. Uh-huh. And one of the things I had realized when I was going through this process is that grieving is a very lonely process. It's not that you're alone. I mean, a lot of us are surrounded by so much love and support, but it's something that you experience on such a deep level that to try to verbalize it and give it words almost minimizes the relationship that you had with the person. So you grieve silently, and also, like what you said, you maintain a decorum of strength, because I have children. I needed to do that for their sake, but on the inside, I was falling apart.
So the interesting thing is when we have something that is kind of distracting us from what we should be doing, obviously the death of someone we love is a distraction. We don't often call it that, but it is distracting. And you have to be there for other people, so it's almost like you have to pull yourself together in order for that to happen. Is there something about yoga how was it worded again in my notes here? Let's see, the psychology of yoga. Is there something there, it says physiology, the psychology and physiology of yoga.
Yes.
That also is similar in the art, in the act of writing. I feel like writing is very therapeutic as far as getting us back on track, even if it's not to be published, if it's just writing for yourself. And does that same thing occur in yoga some way?
Absolutely. In any creative endeavor that we do, I consider yoga both an art and a science. It works on so many levels, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And I know that yoga has saved my life, and as has writing. Both create movement. When we get stuck, when we're feeling like, that we have, people have this, when we're in grief or stress, we describe it physically sometimes. Like we say, oh, it hurts in my heart, or my stomach hurts, or my neck hurts. Right. Those are the physical manifestations, but what I consider that to be is stuck energy. The energy is just not flowing with you. So when you create movement, whatever that movement is, and for me, my outlet is writing, my outlet is yoga, it gets that energy to flow, that energy to move. And I had rejected anything that made me feel good for a long time. I couldn't taste food. Every time I would take a bite, I would feel full, but what I was full of was grief and anguish. That's why I couldn't eat. And anything that smelled good or felt good, or I didn't want to take part in. But when I stepped out of that and said, no, whether I like it or whether I don't like it, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to take a step at a time. I'm going to get to the front of my mat. I'm going to do what I know I need to do, those things that do make me feel good.
Do you know what we don't?
Little by little, food started to taste good again. I started to gain weight. I started to look at life differently.
Started to embrace life again, right?
Exactly. I embraced life.
Do you know, I'm going to get some people mad with this, and please understand where I'm coming from. So it's really hard for me to believe that most people know that there's an afterlife. Most people say they believe in an afterlife, but how many people actually know it? I mean, some people might be able to say they do, and I know there's books from people who say they've been there or whatever, but we don't know. But yet we believe it, and I think that's a comforting thing too. We want to believe that our loved ones are in this happier place, and I do believe that. I'm not saying I don't believe it, but I don't know it. But it is holding on to that belief. I can remember, and for me, when my dad died, and then 2 weeks later, my sister died. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was in the production room at the radio station and with Robin, as a matter of fact. And I had not cried for my sister. Not that I didn't love her, I did, but there was just so much crying before that it was almost like I was done. There was nothing else I could do. And then that day in the production room, I found some pictures online of my sister. And I just started scrolling through one after another. And I broke down like a baby crying. And it was, I don't know what happens, but you just have to have that happen. I don't know why. But
yeah, I agree. You do have to have that happen. And, you know, the interesting thing is that it's like in your situation, you were in the production room. You don't know the when and where. I call it the kill shot. You don't know when and where it's going to happen, but you know it's coming, because I did the same thing. I buried for a long time. I was trying to be, and for those 4 years, I was basically my brother's primary caretaker. So
wow.
You're operating just on, you can't let yourself feel too much. You can't let yourself, even though you go through those moments, but when that kill shot comes, you hope that you have some type of belief system.
And you must have been close, as brother and sister.
My brother and I, it's interesting because we share the same birthday, 4 years apart. We were born the same hour. He was older than I was, and ever since I was little, you know, when you're little, you can feel loved, but I felt liked by him. He included me. I had two other brothers, and not that they weren't, you know, great brothers, but my relationship with this brother was quite unique. He just embraced me. He was protective. He was like my protector. And then I became his. I took care of him. I protected him.
Sure did. Yeah, sounds like it.
Love.
Moments in Time. Beautiful book, by the way. We need to take a little break, Niina. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion. I want to be fair to the book so the listeners know what's in the book. I think we've kind of talked about almost everything but the book, and
Okay.
So we'll do that when we come back. This is The Source, WOCA. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Times of sun and clouds today with a shower or thunderstorm in spots this afternoon and this evening. The high 84 at the coast, 91 inland. Partly cloudy overnight, though 64 inland, 70 at the coast. For tomorrow, times of clouds and sun with a shower and thunderstorm or two around in the afternoon. The high 84 at the coast, 89 inland. For Sunday, mostly cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. The high 81 to 85. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Is your credit headed in the wrong direction? If so, Florida Credit Union can help turn it around. If the signs are reading missing payments, maxing out cards, or borrowing from financing companies, it's time to steer your credit to safety. Pull into a Florida Credit Union today and let us help you map out a personalized credit management plan. Get a free credit report analysis and advice to help you consolidate wisely. A better plan can get you to a better place. Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Real estate is the largest and most personal investment that any of us will ever make. Be sure to tune in Tuesdays at 10 a.m. when Bob Kennedy, owner of Berkshire Hathaway Home Team Realty, will be answering your questions and discussing real estate. So remember, that's Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Call 622-9622 with your questions. It pays to be an informed buyer or seller. This is news you can use from Berkshire Hathaway Home Team Realty and your friends here at WOCA.
Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion brings together business and community partners, economic development leaders, and educational providers to connect employers with qualified, skilled talent and job seekers with employment and career development opportunities. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. to Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion, and learn how they can help you.
That was the sound of a tree falling. It could be your tree. You're going to have it trimmed, but never got around to calling Pride Tree Service. It could have fallen in a field, and now all you have to do is call Pride Tree Service, and they'll have it quickly out of the way for a great price. But don't wait until the tree falls. It may not fall in the field. It may hit your car, your house, or worse. So call Pride Tree Service today and avoid all those headaches before they happen. Pride Tree Service, 840-0750. That's 840-0750.
All right, 9 minutes before 10 o'clock, Niina C. Payne is on the phone. Her book is called Moments in Time. When one heart opens, two hearts collide. And she is in, was it Solana? Solana Beach, California?
Solana.
I went online, by the way. I went to the Google Maps thing, and I'm looking at a picture of Solana Beach. You have cliffs. I guess that's common on the West Coast, right? Lots of cliffs.
Oh yes, so, we have the bluffs and the cliffs, and it's just so gorgeous. We live literally minutes from the beach, so I can't live without a beach.
I remember the cliffs in Santa Monica. It's the only place in California I've ever really spent time. But these are similar to them, except these cliffs go right to the ocean. Yours do.
Yes.
Those cliffs go down to another road. All right, so let's talk about the book. Be fair to the book. Tell us about the protagonist, the main character, Cassandra.
Okay, so basically Cassandra lives a very structured, a very disciplined life, very regimented, very focused on her family, very focused on her children, as she should be as a mother. And basically she goes to this new studio and she meets the studio director immediately. They have this attraction between them. But they manage to suppress it because he's also married, but she starts to feel these feelings like she's never felt before. And it kind of it's a curiosity at first, and then her brother becomes ill, and then through the passage of time and through it's the story of Daniel and Andy. Andy is the brother in the book, and Daniel is the yoga instructor. The story is kind of parallel, where you see how as Andy gets progressively worse, her feelings for Daniel increase. So I guess in a way, the tale can be cautionary in some ways, where when you start to feel vulnerable and you start to feel, when you have situations happen in life, you need to be very careful, because the tendency for some of us is to want to run from the pain. And that's basically what was happening in the tale of Moments in Time. Is she started having this attraction with Daniel, which grew over time, and it was, of course, forbidden because they're both married. But they just can't seem to control it. The emotions of what they're feeling and the passion of what they're feeling towards one another becomes overpowering. And as Cassandra gets more into despair and grief and dealing with the issues of her brother, Daniel is like what we talked about on some level, the distraction. He becomes like this sweet distraction for her. Mm-hmm. And when she's feeling at her lowest, which can feel like death sometimes, or just numb, when someone can come along and make you feel something and pull you out of that, and someone who's separate from the day-to-day life of what you're going through, you can fall into that. So when I say it's a cautionary tale in some ways, some people, when they're going through grief, they turn to drugs or alcohol, or it can be in the form of a human, something to soothe your senses, to be a balm to your senses, and that can be dangerous as well. So
yeah, well, I think, I see that. I think what I like about a romance being a distraction as opposed to a drug or being a workaholic or something is that I think romance breathes life back into you. It makes you feel alive. Whereas drugs won't do that, and your work won't do that, but sometimes a romance will. And if you're a reader of a book with that type of a story, you don't even have to live it, because you kind of do it vicariously through the author's words.
Yes, that is so true. I mean, I love what you just said, because it's true. A romance can really bring you to life. It can awaken you. It can blossom you. And
because you're not the one who died. Part of you died when your brother died. Part of you died. In your character's case, I shouldn't say you, but it's a blurred line for me right now. But you know what I mean. I mean, you're still the one alive, or Cassandra is still the one who's alive. So we have to live.
But there are many parallels in your book. I mean, before you discovered the solace of yoga and everything, and raising a family, everything that entails, you were the manager of a fast-paced company, and that probably was the beginning of the decline of health for you. But then you captured it back.
Yes, several stages I guess we go through in life. I was very much into my career, and I was in like you said, a fast-paced financial industry, and I ran the actually it was a blessing because that's where I met my husband. So he was the vice president of sales, and I was the general manager in administration. That's how we met, and then I had my kids. But exactly, I actually discovered yoga through my husband, as strange as that sounds.
But he doesn't wear yoga pants, right? Just you, right? We do a weird thing in our culture. We live the lives of celebrities. We have an opinion about who they're dating. We have an opinion about decisions they've made. And I often think, why are we doing that? I mean, it's like it's just a waste of our energy. We should be having an opinion about our own clothing and our own lifestyles.
Yeah.
It is part of what I got from the book is the whole notion of living for yourself and the people in your life.
That's so true, because that's another very big component of my book, is that as she goes through this, she realizes that a great deal of her life she's living out of obligation, and she's out of guilt and out of being manipulated into doing certain things, and she really finds her voice in a true and authentic way. She's always been considered by others as very strong, but within herself she had a lot of insecurities, and as she went through this self-discovery and she went through this path, she really learned that she has a strength within her that she didn't even realize she had, and she has the power to set boundaries, and she has the power to stand up and say, no, I'm going to live life on my terms, because as I say in the book, life is too short and too long to live it according to others and to live as if things were a certain way. Things are what they are, and things happen the way they happened. And I believe that things happened just as they should have happened, because that's the way they happened.
Yeah.
And
it's as simple as that. That's the way it happened.
Hey, and you know what? That's how children look at life too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we have to see things through the eyes of a child.
Yes.
And with your character Daniel, he really allowed her to grow and to discover her own self without any expectations. And sometimes those expectations will stifle a person.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, what a deep interview. You got beautiful hair. I'm looking at the picture. You need to put the picture of you bigger, though, on the book. On the back. Look how pretty her hair is. Pretty hair. Pretty lady. All right, I have a copy of the book. It's called Moments in Time. Call me if you want the copy that Niina sent to us. It's an advanced reader's copy, so it's kind of a collector's item. And you can have this one. The rest of us have to go buy it. Do you have a website for yourself?
I do. I have a website. It's Niina, Payne, Payne.com. And there's several links where a person can purchase it either through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, iTunes, whatever their preference is.
All right, let me take a call and give the book away. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Hey, Larry, it's Kathy.
Hey, Kathy, you got the book. It'll be waiting for you.
Great. Thanks. Good interview with Niina. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Wow. When did the book come out?
The book just came out March 15th. We had my launch party actually on that exact date. And you want to talk about a big picture of me. I walked in and went, whoa. It was scary. What am I doing there?
Oh, now I see you. I'm at your website. Now I see a bigger picture of you. Niina, thank you so much for being on the air with us today. Good luck with the book, and definitely come back anytime.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. This was wonderful.
I think you're entering a new stage of your life, it looks like. So have fun with it.
Thank you, Larry and Robin. I appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
CBS News Radio, I'm Pam Puso. A search for the missing in northern Illinois after a tornado tears through the town of Fairdale.
We have huge debris piles that we have to be careful. We have to take our time.
Chief Chad Connell with the Kirkland Community Fire District. The twister killed one person. At least 7 others are hurt. Lauren Hill was bigger